Welcome back to Cultivating Resilience. Feeling connected is an essential part of well-being. Today we're talking about how to build stronger connections in our families. We'll explore simple yet meaningful ways to strengthen relationships with our children and support their growth using restorative practices. Thank you, Cassie, so much for being here. Tell me, what is restorative practices?
A lot of times I kind of talk about how we often look, when people are in trouble, we look at punishment, and a restorative practice is a way to kind of view that differently, and be able to kind of connect and hear everybody's voices to be able to problem solve through a situation.
Okay, so if I hear you right, sometimes in westernized culture, we're really punishment driven. You did something wrong, so you deserve punishment. And in restorative practices, kind of looks at things differently.
Yeah, so it's kind of a way to build empathy for others. It also helps kind of bring about like our own responsibility in a situation, but it allows voices for everybody that had been part of whatever has occurred to have a voice.
Okay, so if I'm a parent using restorative practices as a concept, does that mean I just don't hold my kids accountable or?
No. Actually, I think it really does help build capacity both for parents and caregivers and the children themselves to kind of reflect on the situation and really understand why it occurred. A lot of times when we punish, we just want to like fix the behavior. And punish that immediate consequence without understanding why something happened. So I think it actually creates a deeper conversation and still holds them accountable to be able to reflect on and sometimes problem solve with how do I do this differently next time.
Okay, so if I'm a kiddo and I have a sibling and I hit them or I push them, right? If I was doing restorative practices as a parent, how would I navigate that scenario?
Yeah. I mean, that's a situation that probably occurs often in homes, right? So you would bring everybody together in that situation and you would allow everyone to just talk about how that situation made them feel. We try to make it really equal in the ability for both the person that got hit and the one that did the hitting. And we try to give them equal time and space to just talk it through and process like how that felt. And a lot of times that allows them to then apologize to each other in an actually intentional and meaningful way.
Okay, so we're talking about my experience. I'm guessing as the person who got hit, me sharing that experience helps the kiddo who hit me in awareness and maybe some empathy of how their actions affected me, and then allows us to look at, okay, how do we repair this harm? Is that kind of part of the process?
Yeah, and I think, the one that did the hitting, sometimes when we are upset and we're dysregulated, we do things we don't mean, right? And so that gives us a time to reflect on, like maybe I do feel really sad and there's like a shame piece to that, to be able to say sorry and, say maybe why they felt like they had to do that. And it gives the guardian and parents the ability to talk about like, what could we do differently next time when we're feeling those feelings? Like, how could we use our words or, coming up with solutions together.
Okay, so I'm guessing then in that experience, I'm just cultivating kind of that awareness in kids, that ability to manage their affect, to say, hey, actually, I was feeling a fast heartbeat, and so I hit really fast. Next time when I feel a fast heartbeat, I should or could do X, Y, Z.
Yeah. It's also a really good time for parents to model some of that too, because we know that sometimes, we get upset and even when we think, oh, that kid did something they really shouldn't, like how do I model staying calm and not make it like I'm blaming one kid over the other? Yeah. So it's a great way for parents to model that too.
Okay, and tell me a little bit about the importance of this, of like, what I hear you saying is such a big piece of this is instilling kind of that internal development, that internal awareness, ability to forward think and make appropriate decisions while staying regulated as a kid. I'm guessing if we did just punishment, right? Okay, you hit, go to your room, we don't talk about it, you lose PlayStation for the night. What are my missed opportunities when I do that?
Yeah, I think you're missing an opportunity to connect with that child about what had occurred. I think being able to be more restorative and being able to repair builds our sense of safety and trust with those people around us. And then that it just gives more opportunity to be actually linked to the thing that happened. A lot of times our consequences don't always match what actually occurred. Like taking away a PlayStation isn't really relevant to me hitting my brother.
Yeah. And so I'm guessing making that relevant and making it a learning experience and rooted in kind of safety and love. Now, if I'm out on the playground, but no adults are around or watching, and I want to hit, I maybe have had some understanding or empathy developed as to not do that versus maybe only making the decision because I'm going to get away with it or not get away with it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that takes time and kids are kids and they're still going to make mistakes. But I think then that even allows for conversations that if something did happen at school, we've built this sense of safety and trust at home that we can then have a conversation. You can have circles without it having to be linked to like a consequence right away or a situation right away. So if they were in recess and something happened, you could have a family circle about that when you come home. And hopefully have built that capacity to have those conversations.
Okay, so I heard you say the word circles. I don't, what is a circle? What's that mean?
So sort of how restorative practices typically work, right? We say it's circle. So it's when you all get together and everybody sits and you get a space and we usually have like a talking piece or something that each person can use when it's their turn to talk. People can choose to pass in that situation if they're not ready to talk. But that allows equal voices across like whoever's involved in that restorative piece.
Okay, so I'm guessing that if I'm embedding restorative practices in the way that I manage difficult situations or behaviors, it might be helpful for me to be proactive about circles. Like maybe we're just at dinner, no conflict happened, and we say, everyone share the best part of your day, and we do a circle. Yeah. What are other ideas for me to be proactive?
Yeah, I mean, I think that those are really like you can make family meetings. Maybe it's just a discussion you want to have with the kids about something. Maybe it's about rules or norms you want to set for your home. But I think the dinner table is a great place for that because you're kind of already set up in a circle. So we do this often in our family where we just go around and talk about like one thing we've been grateful for the day to kind of reflect. And so everybody gets, time and space to have their own thoughts.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit, in a culture where it seems like we have a hard time having crucial conversations or sitting in conflict, how does this build capacity for that?
It allows parents to be able to stay a little bit more neutral with their kids. They're able to hear both sides of stories it feels safe. Yeah. And so even hard conversations, I think allowing them to have big feelings and doing it in this way, it doesn't feel as scary or intimidating.
Yeah, and I'm guessing if I'm doing this circle or we're having this conversation, now rather than going to my room and losing PlayStation, actually sit and I have to be in a space with someone that I hurt while also, so I'm having difficult conversations. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting in conflict without avoiding or over functioning. And it's just teaching me how to do that later in life in the workplace or other environments.
Yes, because we're always going to have uncomfortable situations. And I think it just lends itself really well to schools and lots of conflict in schools and groups of kids. So I think it's a good way. Maybe kids will learn how to do this naturally on their own if they get to do it at home.
Oh, that'd be a beautiful thing. Well, parenting comes with challenges, but how we respond shapes our relationships with our children. Let's keep building resilience and finding balance one day at a time.